Kamalakira Vanasar Jayaramadhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Shri Radha Giridhari ki, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Gauranathai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Go Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nastapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, which is Narada instructs the Prachetas. We're reading from text number 14, which is on the board, but is quite small. Hopefully everyone can read it from back there. Let's see how we go. Please repeat. Yatha Toro Mula Nishechanena Pripyanti Tatskanda Bujo Pashakaha Prano Paharach Cha Yatendriyanam Tataiva Sarvarhanam Achyuta Tejja Yatatora Mula Nishechanena Tripyanti Tatskanda Bujo Pashakaha Pranopahara Chajatendriyanam Tataiva Sarvarhanam Achyuta Tejja Yatatara Mula Nishechanena Tripyanti Tatskanda Bujo Pashakaha Pranopahara Chajatendriyanam Pranopaharach 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 Cha Yatendriyanam Tataiva Sarvahanam Achyuta Tejja Tataiva Sarvahanam Achyuta Tejja Tataiva Sarvahanam Achyuta Tejja Yatam toro mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhajopashakaha pranopahara chachatindriyanam tataiva sarvahanam achyutatedya. Vaishnava. Yata toro mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskandha bhajopashakaha pranopahara yatendriyanam tataiva sarvahanam achyutatedya. Yatha taro mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskandha bhujopashakaha pranopaharach yatindriyanam tataiva savahanam achyutatedya. Mula nishechanena tatskandha bhujopashakaha indriyanam tataiva sarvahanam achyutatedya. So there's a mistake on the board. Sorry about that. The last word, achyuta, with aja, is supposed to be a J before the Y. So it's achyutatedya. There's a J before the ya. So imagine a j just before the ya on the last word. Would someone else like to, from Mataji's side, lady's side, Vaishnavi's side, like to recite the verse? Okay, so now we'll go through the word for word. Please repeat. Yata, as. Toroho, of a tree. Mula, the root. Nishechanena, by watering. Tripyanti, are satisfied. Tat, its. Skandha, trunk. Bhuja, branches. Upashakaha, and twigs. Prana, the life air. Upaharat, by feeding. Cha, and. Yata, as. Indriyanam, of the senses. Tata eva, similarly. Sarva, all demigods. Arhanam, worship. Achyuta, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Idya, worship. Translation. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, similarly, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods, who are parts of that Supreme Personality. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes people ask why this Krishna consciousness movement simply advocates worship of Krishna to the exclusion of the demigods. The answer is given in this verse. The example of pouring water on the root of a tree is very appropriate. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, text 1, it is said, Urdhva Mulanam Adashakam. The cosmic manifestation has expanded downward, and the root is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the source of all material, of all spiritual and material worlds. Krishna is the root of everything. Therefore, rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Krishna Seva, means automatically serving all the demigods. Sometimes it is argued that karma and jnana require a mixture of bhakti in order to be successfully executed. And sometimes it is argued that bhakti also requires karma and jnana for its successful termination. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. Actually, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam, pure devotional service should not be contaminated by the touch of karma and jnana. Modern society is involved in various types of philanthropic works, humanitarian works, and so on. But people do not know that these activities will never be successful unless Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is brought into the center. One may ask what harm there is in worshipping Krishna and the different parts of his body, the demigods. The answer is also given in this verse. The point is that by supplying food to the stomach, the indriyas, the senses, are automatically satisfied. If one tries to feed his eyes or ears independently, the result is only havoc. You think of babies. Simply by supplying food to the stomach, we satisfy all the senses. It is neither necessary nor feasible to render separate service to the individual senses. The conclusion is that by serving Krishna, Krishna Seva, everything is complete, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 62. Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoya. If one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is accomplished. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Agyan Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakru Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tujay Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Pranami Hari Priye Pranami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this is a very important and often quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam. And it makes a very important point. So context for this shloka in this chapter is that the prachetas are receiving instruction and from Narada Muni, and Narada is bringing them to Upasana Kanda, Bhakti. He's trying to help them understand that nitya karmas, or regular dharmic activities, are subservient to bhakti. And that if one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in bhakti, then one doesn't have any need to engage in other dharma, because all of the devatas who are the objects of worship in nitya karma, then they're satisfied. So you've already satisfied them by doing bhakti. You don't need to satisfy them separately. You don't need to satisfy the devatas separately. The devatas will be very pleased with you because you're doing bhakti to Krishna. So you shouldn't worry about other paths. You should just take to bhakti. And by that, you'll please Krishna, the root of all existence, and all of your purposes will be fulfilled. There's no superior knowledge to be gained other than understanding that Krishna is the source of all existence and that everything emanates from him. That is the culmination of transcendental knowledge. The culmination of the path of jnana, philosophical inquiry, is to come to understand that Parabrahman, Swayam Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, is the root of all existence. He is all existence. All existence is a manifestation of him and his energy. That's all there is. So if you come to understand that, then you can have faith in Krishna. If you don't know that, then your faith in Krishna will not be pure. It will be contaminated. Contaminated in the sense of misconception. So pure knowledge produces pure faith. Transcendental knowledge, knowledge untouched by the modes of material nature, that comes from a transcendental source, Apurushaya, comes from Bhagavan, Krishna, or his associates. That knowledge is pure. And if you receive that knowledge, then the result of receiving that knowledge will be, what do you think it will be, Mataji? The result of receiving transcendental knowledge. The results of receiving transcendental knowledge will be pure faith. If you receive transcendental knowledge, then the result, pure faith. Pure faith produces pure bhakti. If the knowledge is mixed with conceptions of karma or jnana, then the faith will be mixed, because you'll receive mixed knowledge produces mixed faith, which produces mixed bhakti, mishra bhakti. Either karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti. What is the evidence of mixed bhakti? The evidence is, I want something out of this for myself, essentially. I want liberation, jnana mishra bhakti. I want freedom from suffering. I've been suffering in the material world for so long. My life is full of anxiety. I just want some shanti, some peace. I just want some freedom from suffering. I just want, that's all jnana, mukti. That's all the desire for freedom from suffering. That's selfish, ultimately, from the pure bhakti perspective. It's It's a desire for my own liberation, my own freedom, my own freedom from suffering. Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So I do bhakti to Krishna, I worship Krishna, but I do it to achieve liberation, to become free from suffering, to ultimately even to go back home, back to Godhead from a pure conception is a mixed desire. We pray every day that Bahunam Janmanam, we pray every day that may I take birth after birth. Lord Chaitanya expresses the same aspiration. Let me serve Krishna birth after birth. From the pure bhakti perspective, the desire is to act in a way which pleases Krishna. If Krishna wants me to stay in material existence and that's what he wants, that's how I should serve him, then I'll serve him like that. Vaishnavas know that Krishna is most pleased in his Nitya Leela, which takes place in the spiritual world. I want to please Krishna as best I can. So that's the best place to please Krishna. I'm happy to go there and please Krishna in the spiritual world, if that's what he desires. But that's all dependent on his mercy. But it is not that the practicing pure devotee or the established pure devotee, the desire is not for freedom from their own suffering in of itself. That's not the reason why they do bhakti. So Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti is, I want something for myself. Good next birth in the heavenly planets. I want wealth. I want good education. I want material facilities. I want something in this world for myself. And that's why I'm serving Krishna. I want name, fame, adoration, distinction. I want something of this world for myself. Karma Mishra Bhakti. So, Abhilas, the desire, is what determines the quality of the bhakti being practiced. And that is determined by the faith that one has, which is determined by the knowledge that one has. The knowledge and faith, they compose the qualification for bhakti, adhikar. Adhikar for bhakti is comprised of shraddha, which is comprised of knowledge. Because according to what you know, that's what you believe in. Everyone has shraddha. Shraddha is there. Everyone has shraddha in something. Whether we're talking about something religious, spiritual or not, you have some shraddha according to your knowledge. You have some belief about what reality is. You have some conception of what existence is and what its purpose is and what my point of existence is in this world. That, whatever that is, that's your shraddha. That's the basis of your action. Shraddha is the basis of all activity. So there's shraddha in the modes of nature, which produces material activity, or there's pure shraddha, shuddha shraddha, which produces bhakti, which is the basis for bhakti. So, by the cultivation of transcendental knowledge, shravana, hearing. So, transcendental knowledge means knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what transcendental knowledge is. So, by cultivating transcendental knowledge, one develops shraddha. Where does transcendental knowledge come from? It comes from Krishna. It comes from Krishna's associate. Bhakti sanjayate bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. Bhakti produces bhakti. So Krishna is the cause, apurusheya, of transcendental knowledge, tattva-jnana, knowledge of Krishna. And his devotees and he share transcendental knowledge in the world. Conditioned souls come in contact with transcendental knowledge. They acquire shraddha, pure faith, which is defined as Srila Prabhupada quotes here, Madhya Lila 22:62. Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Sarva Karma Krit. Krit means action. Krita in Sanskrit means action, like karma. Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. The fulfillment of all actions. Sarva Karma actions, Krita, are fulfilled or are done. All actions are done. Krishna Bhakti Koila. By doing Krishna Bhakti, Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. All of the different types of activities are fulfilled. All actions are fulfilled by doing Krishna Bhakti. You've achieved everything by focusing your life on serving Krishna. So that means that because everything is in connection to transcendental knowledge, means that we understand that everything is already in connection to Krishna. Everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna and his energies. There's nothing else to do. That's all everyone is doing, because everything is Krishna. Now, those that realize what existence is, those that know by receiving transcendental knowledge, they know that Krishna is the root of all existence, and all manifestation, everything, all objects in the world are manifestations of Krishna's energy. So ultimately, all we're dealing with is Krishna, and either Krishna himself, the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, or his potencies, his energy. And everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. That's all that there is. So Srila Prabhupada says here that the root, mula, of the material existence is like a tree. And it's up, and the roots are up, and the branches and everything are down. But the real tree is in the spiritual world. The real tree is in the spiritual world. So the real form of all existence is in the spiritual reality. What we're dealing with is a reflection. What we're dealing with is a reflection. Pratibimba chaya, two types of reflection. But the original forms of all things exist in the spiritual world. And they are manifested by Shaktis of Krishna. Those same Shaktis of Krishna, they manifest all of the objects in material existence. So everything that we're dealing with is a reflection of the original object, which is manifest in Vaikuntha, manifest in Goloka. So everything is a reflection of the reality. So the reason that there are flaws that possess the quality of hardness upon which people can stand are because there are flaws in the spiritual world. Flaws in the material world, they have characteristics that define them as flaws. They have to be on the ground, not in the ceiling. Things in the ceiling are called ceilings, the roof of buildings. The things on the ground are called flaws. They have certain characteristics. So every object in existence, spiritual and material, has characteristics, primary characteristics and secondary characteristics. Swarup Lakshana and Tatashta Lakshana. The Swarup Lakshana of every object is what defines that object. And all of those objects are manifestations of Krishna's Shakti. The same Shaktis that manifest them in the spiritual world, their reflections manifest them in the material world. That's all there is. It's Krishna, his Shaktis, in the material and spiritual world. So everything is a manifestation of Krishna. The one who has this Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy, then they see Krishna in everything, because everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy, purified by transcendental knowledge, connected to Krishna in Tattva Gyan by transcendental knowledge, which is acquired through association with people who have it. That's Krishna and his associates. And by hearing from them, which is what Shastra contains, then we receive that same conception of life. And that produces pure faith. Everything is in connection to Krishna. Everything should be done in Krishna's service. Krishna's service has three, Jiva Goswami explains, three manifestations of bhakti. Swarup, Siddha Bhakti, primary devotional service. Nava Anga Bhakti, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the Lord's lotus feet, etc. Nava Vidha Bhakti. Swarup Anga Bhakti, primary bhakti. Second is Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Everything that we do in life that serves our primary engagement in bhakti. Sangha. By Sangha, by association with primary bhakti, Swarup Siddha Bhakti, those things become bhakti. So you work, you do so many things to maintain your existence. Why? Because we're devotees, we're maintaining our families, we're maintaining our bodies, which are our sadhaka deha, spiritual conception of life, to engage in bhakti. So that all of those activities which are connected to bhakti, they're called Sangha Siddha Bhakti. They're also bhakti, as long as they're connected. If they're not connected to bhakti, then they're not. They're karma. So in the beginning of devotional service, devotees do Mishra bhakti because their karma and their concept and their jnana is all a bit mixed up. But as bhakti progresses, it becomes Shuddha bhakti. Devotees do Sangha Siddha bhakti, Swarupa Siddha bhakti. That's all they do in their life. Everything is either their direct devotional service or those activities that they do for Krishna's pleasure to support their direct devotional service. This is the result of understanding that Krishna is everything. That Krishna is all existence, and all existence comes from Krishna. So everything is directed to Krishna. And in that, there's no need to satisfy devatas separately. Devotees know how to worship the devatas perfectly because they see that the devatas are, in our sampradaya, we talk about the devatas as servants of Krishna. They're either avatars of Krishna, they're either such as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they're Vishnu Tattva, they're Bhagwan Tattva entities, or they're Shaktis of Krishna. They're the Shaktis of Krishna, and they exist in the spiritual world, and they exist in the material world in their reflected form. Same Shakti. They're all there. Whatever's here is there in its original form. And the abode in which all of the original Shaktis are manifest is Goloka. And then expansions of those Shaktis exist in Mathura, expansions of those forms of the Lord and Shaktis exist in Dwarka, expansions of those forms of the Lord and Shaktis exist in Hastinapur, expansions in those forms of the Lord and those Shaktis exist in Ayodhya, they exist in Vaikuntha, they exist in Devidam, Maheshdam, they exist in Jagat, in the material universes. So for devotees who are connected with Krishna by transcendental knowledge, for association, everything is in connection to Krishna, everything connects them with Krishna, everything reminds them of Krishna. So that's pure bhakti. I do everything, why? Try and please Krishna. I do my primary devotional activities to please Krishna. I do all the other activities in my life to try and please Krishna, so that I can do the primary devotional service to please Krishna. Why do I go to sleep? To rest my body, so that I can do service the next day. Your sleeping is Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Why do I work? To maintain my body, to maintain my family. To engage them in Krishna's service, to engage myself in my sadhana, in Krishna's service, is Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Everything is connected to Krishna. Everything is done for Krishna's pleasure. This is transcendental knowledge. And the devata for the sadhaka is the guru. How do I please Krishna? How do I know how to serve Krishna? Who do I hear from to understand Krishna? Guru. Guru Tattva. So the guru is the central point of service for the sadhaka. The cultivation of one's relationship with Krishna is through seva, Krishna seva, which is done through service to the spiritual master. What's favorable, what's unfavorable for me as an individual devotee depends on my relationship with my guru and the instructions of my spiritual master. That's how I cultivate my bhakti favorably. I accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable. Most importantly, Krishna is my maintainer. This is the path of Sharanagati, surrender to Krishna. It is a gradual cultivation of hearing, shravana, and application. And as we continue to cultivate the process of hearing and chanting about Krishna, our concept of bhakti and our practice of bhakti becomes more and more purified and developed from sadhana to prema. Okay, thank you all for your kind attention. So this verse is very important. Yatha taro mula nishetanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka. Tripyanti, to satisfy. Tatskanda, all the branches, and all the twigs and branches, they become satisfied mula, paro mula. Just like yata, just like a tree's roots are the way to satisfy all the branches, in the same way, tataiva, yata, indriyanam, all the prano, pahara, chayatindriyanam, all the parts of the body are satisfied by satisfying the stomach. Similarly, all manifestations of existence are satisfied by satisfying the root of existence, Krishna. It's the basis of, it's a very important verse. We should memorize it and know it. It's a very important verse. It establishes the basis of pure faith, which is the basis of pure bhakti, which without pure faith, you can't do pure bhakti in practice. You can't cultivate pure devotion. So this is very important verse. Srila Prabhupada would quote this in his preaching very often, and you see it appears in many places in Shastra of our acharyas. Wherever the topic of establishing what bhakti is comes up, then this verse is there, because it's the basis of what pure faith is. Okay, so any questions? Any thoughts? Mataji. Victoria. Yeah, in the spiritual where everything is serving Krishna. So everything goes on in the same way, but all for Krishna's pleasure. So the ants are in the way, and Radharani is thinking, oh, it creates a bit of anxiety. I have to go quickly to serve Krishna, but there's ants in the way. Oh, it creates a little bit more anxiety, which is even more pleasing to Krishna. So the ants are adding to Radharani's anxiety to please Krishna, which is increasing Krishna's pleasure. So everything is oriented. Yeah, so everything's manifestation of Sandhini Shakti, Baladev. Yeah. So everything works perfectly for Krishna's pleasure. Everything works perfectly for Krishna's pleasure. So everything produces bliss, unlimited expanding ecstasy. Everything it produces unlimited expanding ecstasy in for Krishna's pleasure. So the floor is serving Krishna. Everything is serving Krishna, and everything is increasing. Everything is ecstatic. Every contact with everything increases service to Krishna, which increases spiritual ecstasy. Yeah, everything is increasing transcendental ecstasy at every moment. So it's achintya Shakti. Krishna's Shakti is achintya Shakti. Krishna's achintya Shakti is everywhere. Everything is achintya. Actually, everything is achintya. When we really think about it, we see that actually we are completely engulfed in inconceivable potency at all times. So, yeah, this is the wonder, adbhuta. Adbhuta, astonishment, is the basis of rasa. Astonishment. So when we can appreciate the transcendental nectar of Krishna, then we can appreciate the mellows of devotion, which inspire our aspirations for Krishna's service. So these are good meditations to contemplate, to increase your aspirations for Krishna's service. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Jiva doesn't fall into the material world. Who wants to know that? Yeah. Yeah. There's two categories of living entities. Nityabada, there's two types of jiva. Jiva is the soul. So there's two categories. One category is in the material world, that's us. And the other category is in the spiritual world. That's the Nitya Mukta Jivas. So we're in the Nitya Baddha Jivas. And then there's the Nitya Mukta Jivas. There's only two categories. So you're either already in the spiritual world or you're on the way. And my guess would be that we're on the way. Yeah. So Prabhupada says we never fall from the spiritual world. So we're always in the material world, and you're eternally part and parcel of Krishna. So you have an eternal relationship with Krishna as his subordinate and his servant. And by chanting Hare Krishna and associating with devotees, you'll develop more and more attachment to Krishna. And your attachment to Krishna will help you to cultivate your relationship with Krishna. And then you'll go to the spiritual world. Thank you. That's a good question. It's a very important question to understand sadhana. If you don't know the Jiva Tattva, then you can't do sadhana properly. Yeah. But you were a devotee in your last life. That's why you're a devotee in this life. What's your son's name? Huh? Klim. You were serving Krishna before. And now you've come back to serve Krishna more. That's why you're here. So in your last life, you were a devotee of Krishna. Or you had a connection with Krishna. And now in this life, you've come back to do more service and to cultivate your Krishna consciousness more and more. So if you keep chanting and being a good boy for mummy and daddy, following their instructions, they're your gurus, and your older brother, he's a very responsible young man now. You follow the instructions of your gurus and chant Hare Krishna, and then your Krishna consciousness will just unfold more and more. And keep asking lots of questions. Very good. Very important to always ask questions. Should always be asking questions. Yeah. Controversial questions on a Monday morning from 5-year-old. Good. Good. Yeah. Okay, any other questions before we finish up, Prabhuji? Any thoughts? Mm. Mm. Yeah, we should want to go back to Godhead to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. You know, the devotees want to please Krishna in the environment which is most pleasing to him. That's the environment which is most pleasing to him. So the devotees, they desire to see Krishna, they desire to be in Krishna's dham, they desire to be engaged in Krishna's direct service. So but why? To please Krishna. Yeah. So that high aspiration is what separates the devotee from the materialist. We have to maintain the high aspiration. It's an aspiration. So the more you want that, the less you feel that you have any chance of getting it. But the wanting it is what pulls us from material attraction to spiritual attraction. Oh, I'm just stuck in the material world, dealing with material objects, I've got such a low taste. Raghunath Das Goswami calls himself a great cheater. This is how he thinks, you know, I'm a cheater. Because on the one side, I want this thing which is so, but look where I'm at, look what I'm dealing with, look where. So he genuinely feels like that. So, and these great acharyas, they express their desires and they express their psychology for our benefit, for our, it's beneficial for us. So this is humility. As love and humility, there's a relationship, causal relationship, Shastra says, between love and humility. But we should aspire for something which is beyond us and which is very, very high. And we should keep that aspiration pure. We shouldn't mix it up with, our own selfish stuff. So that's sadhana, is the continual, the refinement of our aspirations. That's the point of it all. That's the point of all of the external practices, is to cultivate our aspiration. So, yeah, and in that, that's where Lord Chaitanya's mood of sadhana is separation. I'm so far away from that. That produces a sense of separation and distance and degradation, which is authentic humility produced by transcendental knowledge. I'm so far away from that, but yet there's nothing else to desire. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to aspire for. So, although I've got no qualification, although I'm, like Raghunath Das Goswami says, a great cheater, I'm still going to aspire for that. And I'm going to do my devotional activities, try and please my Guru. I'm going to function in my sadhaka roop. This is a spiritual conception of life, not an impersonal conception of life. This is the sadhaka roop by which we engage in Krishna's service. I'm going to use, this is my spiritual identity. And I'm going to use this in Krishna's service. So, yeah, it's very high. Something very high given to us people in Kali Yuga. But that is what it is. So we try to appreciate and value that wonderful thing. I've been given a gift by which I can understand and appreciate something of such a high nature, and that will lead our aspiration. Yeah, and yeah, our bhakti in the beginning is mixed because we're sifting through our motivations and Krishna's purifying the heart, and we're strengthening our aspiration ultimately. Because we are, it's all based on taste. It's all based on attraction. But the high aspiration creates this dissatisfaction and distaste with the material, because nothing else will do. Ultimately, even whilst doing that which we know which is not going to do, still the high aspiration is there. So gradually, as we engage in Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, then our intelligence, our choice, like Devamarita Maharaj uses this choice-making muscle. Choice-making muscle gets stronger, gradually. And that's Krishna's mercy, ultimately. It's Krishna's mercy. In fact, Anand Thakur says that sadhaka has to be patient and according to their qualification, the sadhaka has to patiently cultivate their sadhana. Means gradual, small, regular endeavor in bhakti, that gradually, Krishna's mercy, the flow of Krishna's mercy into the heart basically builds up. It's a cumulative bhakti. It's all in Krishna's hand. But the prasadam, the kirtans, the Krishna katha, it sustains us. So we have to keep in the association and keep plodding on with our aspiration, cultivating. And it's in Krishna's hand, ultimately. That's what your comments inspired me to say. Yeah. Thank you for yours. Okay. Nimai? Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, nice. That's right. That's right. Yeah, the potential. Bhakti is, because the jiva is by nature eternal servant of Krishna. So the service potential of the jiva is there inherently in the jiva. But bhakti means anything from shraddha to prema. The prema is fully established rasa with sthairati in a particular relationship with Krishna. That's Swarup Shakti, different to Tatashta Shakti, jiva. The jiva is eternal servant of Krishna by contact, like you said, contact with Vaishnavas, by cultivation of bhakti. That potential of the jiva is fully developed and realized. And when the jiva's full potential for bhakti is fully developed, then prema manifests by the mercy of the Lord, and the jiva gets to enter into Krishna's abode and Krishna's lila. The gradual dispensation of mercy and ingress of bhakti in the heart. So the jiva is, as are all entities, every single thing is subservient to Krishna. The jiva is Jivara Swarupoi, the Swarup Tatashta, the Swarup Lakshana of the Jiva is that it's eternally subordinate to Krishna, and the Swarup Lakshana of every object is that it's subordinate to Krishna. Everything is Nitya Krishna there, actually. Every Shakti, everything. Yeah. The Jiva has that potential to fully develop bhakti. Nectar. Yeah, according to association. Yeah, so according to the association that the devotee gets, they will hear about Krishna, associate with Krishna in terms of hearing, and then according to their association, they become attracted. And according to their attraction, they cultivate that relationship. So if we study Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that some devotees, like Rupa and Sanatan's younger brother, Anupam, he was established in an eternal relationship with Krishna, Bhava Bhakti or beyond. Lord Chaitanya didn't interrupt that. Murari Gupta, same. He's Hanuman avatar, so he's fixed. He's got Sthairati established in prema with. That's not going to change. That's not going anywhere. Other Ram Bhaktas on Lord Chaitanya's travel, one of them was chanting Ram's name all of his life. He was a great devotee of Lord Ram, but not established in Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti. And Mahaprabhu, he became a Krishna Bhakta, and he developed a relationship with Radha Krishna. Another Ram Bhakta, he was already in Bhava with Ram. Lord Chaitanya didn't interrupt his relationship. So it depends on the association, but it depends on the extent of the establishment of Krishna consciousness. The Lord Chaitanya, like that. So generally, Mahaprabhu is always trying to give Krishna bhakti. He garlanded the world with a mala, prema mala of the Harinam Sankirtan and Krishna prema in the four rasas of Vrindavan. Generally, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, we're always hearing about Krishna and Vrindavan, so naturally we cultivate a relationship with Krishna and Vrindavan And that is the sadhana, Vaidhi sadhana, regulated devotional service, by which purification of the heart and cultivation of attraction to Krishna awakens. When attraction to Krishna awakens in a particular mood, then the devotee, through association, cultivates that relationship. Sadhana, the motivation for sadhana changes from Vaidhi sadhana to Raganuga sadhana. And from that particular type of sadhana, then a particular type of bhava bhakti develops. And from that bhava bhakti, a particular type of prema bhakti develops. Devotees can also do Vaidhi bhakti all the way to bhava bhakti. But then the type of bhava bhakti will be corresponding to the type of Vaidhi bhakti that they've done. And at bhava bhakti, then that bhava bhakti sadhana can also develop into purely rag without any Vaidhi in it. And then they can have a purely Raganuga relationship with Krishna without any Ragatmika devotion relationship with Krishna without any Vaidhi in it. So that can also happen at then. So different routes in Lord Chaitanya's movement to prema. And generally, it's a mix. Most devotees are doing a mix of Vaidhi and Raganuga bhakti, not most devotees. Because Vaidhi bhakti is established on the basis of, just as Mishra and pure bhakti are established on the basis of aspiration, Vaidhi and Raganuga bhakti are also established on the basis of regulation. I'm doing my sadhana because this is what it says in Shastra. And if I don't do it, I'm going to feel bad, I'm going to get in trouble with my guru, and I'm going to get punished. It's Vaidhi bhakti. I love Krishna. Krishna is awesome. Krishna in Vrindavan is amazing. I love the way he deals with his devotees. I just want to know that person. I just want to serve him. I just want to please him. Could be general. I don't have any specific relationship with Krishna that I'm aware of yet. Krishna hasn't revealed my relationship with him in that way. But I love Krishna in Vrindavan. I just want to serve Krishna in Vrindavan. And he's come as Lord Chaitanya to distribute Harinam Sankirtan. And I just want to serve and please Lord Chaitanya, engage in the service of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, my spiritual master, and achieve Krishna in Vrindavan. That's not motivated by fear of rules and regulations or Shastra injunction. It's all sadhana is based on Tattva-gyan. It's bhakti. So, Shraddha is, determined by jnana, by knowledge. It all contains knowledge, but it's the reason why you do it. And then that develops. For most devotees, like Jiva Goswami says, most devotees are doing a mix. They're doing some of the time, oh, I've got to get to it. What's this? Krishna, my guru says so, he's going to be there, I'm going to see him, I better go. Okay, I'm going. I just want to go to Mangalati to see Krishna. I want to go and meditate on Krishna. I want to see Krishna in the morning. So it's generally always some bit of both. And then the type of the practice is a little different. Not very much. All of the same limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti are there in Raganuga Bhakti. The motivation is different. And then as the Bhakti develops, the meditation is different. The type of hearing, the type of remembrance that the devotee does depends on the cultivation of their aspiration. But ultimately, it all looks the same. Everyone looks the same, is doing the same thing. With the efficacy, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the efficacy of attachment to Vrindavan is such that by cultivating appreciation for the real object that exists in the spiritual world, one is more likely to be able to move away from the reflection objects in the material world. So in that sense, the path of Raganuga Bhakti is more effective because you're directly cultivating a spiritual positive alternative, which overweighs the material alternative. Let me hear about Krishna and the way that Krishna deals with his devotees. In Vaidhi Bhakti, we're also doing the same. There's also the spiritual alternative. This is my sadhaka rupa. I'm going to engage in the external practices of bhakti. It's also the spiritual alternative. But this is Vishwanath's comment that it has greater efficacy because you're directly meditating on the spiritual object. So you've got a tangible spiritual alternative to the material meditation. Many things. Madhumangal Prabhu, any comments? Guy, respect for service. Nectar. Madhumangal Prabhu is a great example of that. Dedicated life to service. Jai. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Jai Sitanath Nitai Gaur Premanati.